Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to play this game. It's called the Iraqi-Syrian border. However, before I do this, I just want to sort of say that I sort of did this in error without reading the instructions really. So let me put it into perspective. It's actually sort of this game, and it was sort of saying, well, you know, the popular mobilisation units are heading south along the Syria-Iraq border, capturing towns, and I looked at the map and I thought, well, that's fantastic. I mean, you can see the article here. It's not exactly a long article. It's about that long. So I read it. The popular mobilisation units are advancing south along the Iraqi-Syrian border. That's as far as I got. And I thought, right, so they must be going down from here, down there. So I sort of thought, fine, well, you know, that looks like south of the border. And then when I built it, I read the rest of it. The mid-term goal of the advance is to retake the important town of Al-Baj. I mean, it's not as though I really had a lot to read, but I just didn't even get that far. And Al-Baj is about there. So what I'm trying to explain is this is sort of like I did it, and well, it's a game, isn't it? You can play it. It's the one I'm going to actually play now. But here's Al-Baj. Here's the full map. So there's Al-Baj. So my map there only covers this sort of section coming down there, but it's all the same. It's just counters. So I'm not going to play this one because it's just too complicated. But I'm going to have a blast on this one. I'm not going to do more than 15 minutes. Not at all. But what I want to do, I don't really necessarily want to play it. There's no units there. Probably because there's somewhere else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What I want to do is just use my awesome brush tool. Because what I was thinking is, how would I approach this? I mean, what are the different ways to approach it? Obviously, there's the schoolboy way of approaching it, where everything goes towards its nearest unit, and everything gets attacked like that. And it's sort of, well, that's not how I want to play it. But so the fun is the thinking of the strategy. And so what I was thinking was, well, is there any way of outflanking anything? So I was thinking, well, could I sort of isolate these units here? Or perhaps these units here? Or can I do something that is sort of, you know, demonstrates a higher level of thinking? And so I was racking my brains as to sort of how I could do it, and didn't come up with anything really. Not really. That's why I'm doing it now. So I sort of do it sort of in more dedicated time as opposed to just sort of looking at it. But now, obviously, you've got some units under there and some units under there. So the thing to do, to some extent, is to actually look at the units that are underneath it. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to waste too much time. But what I was thinking was, I do want to sort of try that. Now, I was thinking, well, what would be really good is if I could just take this unit here. So first off, I was thinking, well, I could bring these units down here and, well, basically hold a front line there, and then somehow drive a wedge down there. So basically take this unit out here and then sort of sweep around this way, Grand Wassley, and then come up here and you know, something like that. That looks good. But essentially that was sort of what I was thinking, and to be quite honest, that's not a bad move. You know, so we create the front line along there and then sort of push this way at the very least, but we could almost, you know, try that. Now the thing is, the ISIS player is probably not stupid, so it would really come down to how far we could get one of these units. Now I think these units, mechanised units through desert, can move about 4. I'm not sure really. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not as though we could get sort of down there, or you know, blast through here. Now, the other thing that I did notice when I did it was that there are a few points of no zones of controls, in particular this one and this one. And so what I did think of was, well, can I somehow come down here and then maybe isolate this unit? And also there's a zone of thing down here, and similarly come down here and isolate these units. So these are two sort of definite game plans, but taking this one out would be quite good because there's no clear road. It's not as though I could shoot down there through that gap because there's zones of control, unless I could somehow shift that one. Now there's no air power on this, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the first turn, or at least play some probing movements with the first turn. So what have we got in there? We've got two of those units, those wheel units, and we've got three motorised units, three motorised companies from the BADA organisation, the Popular Mobilisation Forces BADA organisation. Now, I could possibly first thing I want to do is test how far I can go. One. So I can go 4 hexes. 2, 3, 4. And similarly, now they're all mechanised. What's some artillery? The other artillery's up there. What I was sort of hinting at earlier is ISIS is not stupid. So basically that's the extent that we can get there. So we could get 1, 2, 3, 4. We could get down to here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could isolate this unit. And I'm not committing myself, I'm just moving some units around. Like that. Now that doesn't isolate it, but it certainly blocks its direct zones of control. It means that because they're both motorised units, they can only ever move to there as a retreat option, which will give me a lot more scope next turn. But what I'm trying to come back to is they're not stupid in the sense that once it's their turn, they're not really going to just leave that gap open. And so I don't know what the ISIS player would do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start again. And it's still quite a big game. The other, just maybe to sort of mention the other thing that I did think of, which was the one strategy I did have in mind before I started, that seemed quite good. And that was basically, it's an interesting one because it achieved something that wasn't really something that I was looking to achieve. I think basically what I first thought of was basically hitting this unit and then coming down here, forcing these units down here, and similarly coming down here and hitting these and coming down there like that. Now that would create 2 front lines like that, but those 2 front lines would actually sort of pretty much end up like that. So basically what it is actually is a huge drive directly down the middle. And now, as I said, I thought of it first, so I could do that and push them this way, etc., etc. So what I'm really trying to do in this video is really just sort of like toy with the sort of potential strategies and directions that you can sort of move it from. So for example, I've already got that move there, possibly to just swing all the way around here. Or the V shape, which I've just mentioned, or the cutting that off, straight off. But the thing that I think that I wanted to do was to create almost a static defense here, shuffle everyone across, and then threaten a line along there. Now that's a lot less grandeur, advanced, because basically in the first turn the ISIS player would actually do something, and so they wouldn't still be there in 2 or 3 turns. And I think, I mean, it depends really. You know, if you're ISIS, I mean, let's almost think of being ISIS for a minute. So you know, I mean, obviously there's do they hold these villages? Yeah, still in map mode. Do they hold all these villages, or do they retreat and try and form a stronger line further south? I mean, basically, I don't think they're going to win, but it's sort of interesting to see whether or not they could possibly win. Now, the only other thing to sort of say is that these 2 units are not actually in objectives, but there is an objective here, and so you've got a natural fallback here of either going this way and this way, and helping to create that line. And then you've got maybe what you might consider to be reinforcements here and here, and you've got some mechanized which aren't on objectives, so they can sort of do things. Now I think the obvious thing for him to do would be to just go straight up this way to join the fray, but you know, you've got you've got this big stack here, and they've got the artillery. So what have they got in there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a huge amount of artillery in there. So they'll probably be wanting to actually sort of work some kind of I don't know, defensive perimeter around all this artillery, and it's got a range of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that makes a bit of sense. So they can basically try and fall back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Etc. And it probably looked like a huge hex, wouldn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Etc. So basically, you know, maybe keeping that one there to create that line, moving these ones back here to create this, and then just falling everything back into this sort of defensive hex, forcing all the combat to take place within this sort of fire zone, supported with their rockets. That's not a lot, but they've also got insurgents down here. They've got 1, 2, 3, and these are quite small units, so these insurgents could be quite good. So basically, and they can move quite far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they could probably get up to here. So in the first turn, they could probably get up to there. This unit could move up there to help reinforce this line. There would be a bit stuffed, but we could possibly send some insurgents up there to help. Maybe commit a little bit of maybe one of these units over there, or just shuffle them around a bit, maybe send one of these back. But I think that's what ISIS would do, and then that would leave the popular mobilization units with basically, you know, the need to create a front line like that, and it would be dynamic, and you'd have to play it by ear the next turn. So we spent 15 minutes not playing the game, but drawing a lot of squiggly lines. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's almost as exciting as moving the counters around. I'll speak to you later. Cheers, mate.